Hello everyone, today we're going to run through how to create Gerber files. Take it away, Joe.
For those who don't know, Gerber files are basically the actual file format that the machine eventually printing out these PCBs will read. So we're going to take this from the standpoint that y'all are finished with a PCB design, you have the layout finished, and the design rule check has been run to the point where is it? Design rule check. Where this has been run to the point where there are no more errors with the design rule and there's no other changes that you want to make and you just want to finish this board. How you generate Gerber files is you're going to want to right click on your project. Go to add new to project and click output job file. And that'll open up this window here. Basically, there's a ton of different file types that you can output, but the ones that we really care about, you'll see this list of a bunch of different types of outputs. And the one that we really care about is fabrication outputs. So what you're going to want to do is you'll see this button here that says add new fabrication, and it's going to bring up this big list of options. And what we're going to want to select from this list is NC drill files and Gerber files. The drill files just tell a drill cam where to drill, obviously. And then Gerber has basically everything else. So when you hover over any of these options, it'll bring up a list either of the PCB doc that you've already made or a generic one that you can make later. What we do is just pick the name of the PCB doc that you started. So I'm going to pick LVSS40 top board Gerber, and I'm going to do it again for the drill files. And it's going to come out like that. On the right here is your output setup. So basically you're setting up all the files that you care about that want to get exported. And then this is what you click to send it into a file in your PC's folder path. So if you click on this thing, you'll get either PDF, video, or folder structure. So you're going to click new folder structure. You can name it whatever you want. I will name it, I don't know. And what you're going to do is once you have a name set, you're going to click on these two little enable dots that you just set up. And it's going to draw these little arrows that point to your output generation. When you do this, just make sure that the data that you're pulling from is the correct name of the PCB. You can change it using this little drop down. So like in this case, if I had multiple PCBs in one document, I could pick any of them. But yeah, all you want is Gerber files and NC drills. Once you have this set up, it's important to make sure that your settings for each of these file types are set up correctly. What you're going to want to do is where it says output description, you're going to want to double click starting with the Gerber. And it's going to bring up this additional window. The three tabs here that we're going to be messing with are general, layers, and drill drawing. For general, all that you want to change, this should be the default, is inches and ratio of 2 to 5. You're going to want to change this to 2 to 4 and keep your units as inches. And then for the layers, and this is the part that's kind of easy to mess up, is selecting all of the layers that are included in your export. I've found personally that it is overkill to select all of these, but you can if you want to be sure that you don't miss anything. When you do this, only select plot because mirror will create a flipped version of these exports. And it's just unnecessary files that could confuse the tools that we're going to use later. But if you know your design in and out, you can select each individual layer that you want to export, since you'll know which ones are actually important to the drawing. I don't know this design too well, so I'm going to select all of them just for the sake of getting this. When you click on all those, that should be good. Before we click OK, just go over to drill drawing, and you're going to want to click this box up here that says plot all used drills. So hit OK. That'll save all those changes there. And then we have to go into the NC drill files and change a couple of things. So you'll see a similar window, but with different options. Up here, same thing, 2.5 change to 2.4, not 2:4. And then over here, this leading trailing zeros, we're going to want to suppress the leading zeros. And then same thing, hit OK. And a lot of this is just setting it up to make sure that the Gerber file viewing tools that we use later actually view this board correctly, and that the website that we order PCBs on can generate how the board is supposed to look correctly. Once those are set, and you can see that they're connected to this thing. You're going to want to click on generate content. And you'll see a little process bar down here that's doing it, and it'll spit out this text file when you're done. Now, where these files export by default should be, and I say should because people might have messed with it, I'm not sure, but it should export to your local disk under users, the name of your user. Actually, that's a lie, don't go in there. Public, sorry. Users, public, documents, Altium, and then under the project folder. So in this case, LVSS 4.0 top board. And you will see up at the top here, yeah, project outputs for LVSS 4.0, which was made a minute ago. So perfect. So we do have to manipulate these files a little bit so that we can actually send all of these files to our website in one zip file. So we can either just take these folders as a whole and send them to a compressed zip folder. Gerber is fine. So from here, so once you generate it, this is the part where you check to see if you mess it up or not. There are 2 PCB Gerber file viewing websites that I like, but there's a bunch out there that you can pick from. One of them is oshpark.com. If you look up like purple PCB, that's also another way to easily get to this website. And then the other one is PCBWay, which is the website that we actually order our PCBs from. If we go over to this oshpark one and select Gerber. There we go. So you can see the output of what it's supposed to look like on the right. Something to note is that make sure when you're looking at this that it's easy to miss errors. Like when I was monkeying around with this earlier today to make sure that I remembered how to do this, and the holes were like all over the place, and I didn't notice that it was wrong until later. So you really got to look at this and make sure, like, are my holes actually going through the board in the spot that makes sense? Do my overlays make sense? Are all the parts in the right spot? Are all the pads the right size? You know, you don't have to look at it in super scrutiny, but just make sure that it looks correct in detail. But this one looks fine. So you can kind of ignore what it says on the left here. Like, this is not a 4-layer board. It's not going to cost $183 to make this. That's not true. But yeah, if everything went correctly, it should look like this. And then even then, we don't necessarily know if this is 100% correct. But from here, if it looks fine from this website's perspective, you would take this zip file and send it to your electrical lead. So the electrical lead is the one who's actually responsible for placing the orders. But so it's kind of your job to make sure that preliminarily it looks good from this website. But just because it looks good here, it doesn't necessarily mean that it might be absolutely correct. The electrical lead might send it off to PCBWay, and the tech support for the whole ordering process for PCBWay, they actually have a real person look at the Gerber files themselves to make sure that it doesn't look wrong on their end. And sometimes they catch things that these websites don't necessarily catch, or that we don't catch in Altium. So you'll find that, like, even if it looks right, you might have to go back and make a couple edits to these settings. It is a bit of a finicky process, but yeah, that is pretty much the process though.